Hello, everybody. And today I am excited to spend a little bit of time with our DSO and MSO expert. We're going to be talking to Samantha Aponte, and we're going to be covering some amazing topics. And hey, Sam, how are you?
Good. How are you, Del?
I'm doing great. It looks like you're sitting at a couch. RevenueWell has these cool places for us to be able to record, so I'm excited about that.
Yes, I'm excited to be in the couch room. It's pretty comfortable, I'm not going to lie.
And that's fantastic. We want everybody to be comfortable. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and literally right now it's daylight savings time, right? Everybody's springing forward. So speaking of time, how does RevenueWell save time for practices?
Yeah, so RevenueWell actually automates a lot of the critical but mundane tasks of, having their staff members call out to patients for recall, for recare, maybe outstanding treatment, or maybe even to follow up on, post-op, for example, and so on and so forth, right? And that's all on top of the insurance calls that we have to make or voicemails we have to leave, maybe callbacks. And the problem there is we could have new patients calling in, which, as you know, a new patient can pretty much be a great opportunity for a practice. So by limiting the number of phone calls, reducing the number of phone calls, RevenueWell can just automate those tasks for the staff members, alleviating A, the phone line so that those new patients can call in, schedule, but B, we can also maximize the way we communicate with people, right? Not everybody can answer the phone all day. My dentist calls me right now, I can't, right? I'm working with you until 5 o'clock today, right? So if somebody texts or emails me, though, there's a good chance I can go ahead and reply back or with two-way messaging, or just shoot an email and talk about when I can come back in. So RevenueWell automates a lot of those tasks, again, to spend that time to focus on those patients that are in the practice, right? We want to maximize on the patient experience because that's going to boost retention at the end of the day too, right? Which also ties into the brand, right? It ties into how you make your patients feel. And if they love you, they're going to talk about you to their friends, their family, their coworkers, right? So it all kind of combines into one, but in a nutshell, RevenueWell can streamline those manual tasks for staff members.
All right. You said a lot of different things that are very important to a practice. So I agree with you. By being able to automate certain tasks, one is to make sure that any patient that does not have a future appointment for recare, that we automate the recall protocol so we can communicate to as many patients as possible. I would even be able to use the 80-20 rule, that 80% of the patients that do not have an appointment should communicate to a practice by email or text. You also mentioned reactivation. And these are patients who have not been in an office for a certain amount of time. So after you do your recall protocol through RevenueWell, you then tandemly also say for those patients who haven't been in the office within a certain amount of time, which is really important. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that RevenueWell, when it talks about reactivation, we no longer look at the last time they had a recall or recare. We're looking for the last time they were in the practice period. Right. And we like to start early because most offices start at 24 months. And by that time, I have a feeling that you already lost your patient. And it's going to be just that much more difficult to get them back, where at 9, 12, 15 months, we have a lot better chance of getting them back. So that was really good. You talked about being able to focus on the patient in front of you. I think that is the most important thing. So there's only two different types of patients in every practice. They either have an appointment or they don't. And so a dental practice, I agree with you 100%. They're really awesome in dealing with patients that are in front of them and that have appointments, and they could deal with whatever they need. But at the same time, it's no longer acceptable to ask a patient to hold on because you're on the phone with somebody, and it's no longer acceptable not to answer that new patient call that you spoke about. And that is very correct, because if you're spending money on marketing, which you are, especially if you're a DSO, you're spending a lot of money on marketing, you need to be able to have the time to spend on the phone with the patient. because if you're going to be abrupt, they will think that everything in your office is abrupt. So let RevenueWell deal with those tasks that are able to be automated, that does not need the personal interaction with a patient, and that is just absolutely amazing. I really appreciate you saying these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that's going to, and at the end of the day, it's a combination of reducing the amount of manual tasks, but also at the same time boosting production, right? So it's a great way to help, again, build your brand, especially if we are a DSO or a dental group looking to grow. It's a great way to help you scale without needing a ton of, manual hours put into those tasks.
Yes, I love the word production, but there's a word that I love more than production. Do you want to know what this is? My favorite word is, I don't care how much we produce. It's about how much we collect. So increasing the collections is what we're actually after. And so there's many different things inside RevenueWell that will help you communicate to the patient that says no, and also set you up for the success for them to understand that when they get these services, they actually have to pay you.
And we have a payments processing feature, so that works out too, to collect those outstanding payments, and even throw a hyperlink on your website. So if I can't receive a phone call on a Sunday when I like to do my bills, I can just go online, right?
That's right. And so that is important, giving patients access, because regardless of who we are, where we work, we are also patients. And so we look at things from a patient's point of view quite often. And if we can make things simpler for them, ultimately things become much simpler for us as well.
Yes, absolutely. Anything that's more accessible is always better.
So let's talk about something that is really important. And let's talk about compliance and liability and risk. How does RevenueWell reduce the risks and liability, and how do we make our offices more compliant?
Yeah, 100%. So with the RevenueWell system, there's a couple of features that we do enable, whether it's for an individual practice or a dental group. So if we are an individual practice and we're logging into RevenueWell, trying to send a text or an email, we do already have kind of general warnings and tips about TCPA standards, what we can and can't market to, and that's why we've made it easier actually to target market the appropriate patients and simply educate them, as opposed to sounding like we're trying to sell something, right? Now, if we're talking about the enterprise portal, we take it a step back and we talk about the master login, where we can market across multiple locations or oversee, what the activity is or what we're actually sending out. If we have a new staff member on board, or a new team on board for that matter, and we want to limit certain user access, we can't. So that way, that new staff member doesn't accidentally market incorrectly or violate TCPA standards. We can actually have and limit user access so that we don't take any risks that way. We can't afford to make those risks, so we're better off not. And if we can avoid it, why not, right?
Absolutely. So I am a big fan of the ability to give certain people the right to do a lot of different things, but certain messaging needs to be controlled by corporate. And not that I don't trust anybody, but I don't trust anybody. I want to make sure that our messaging is unified across the board. I want to make sure that not everybody gets the right to campaign, because in a corporate environment, there are people that actually deal with marketing. They know their patient base really well. And because of the ability to separate the patients by condition, whether they're a perio patient or not. So the marketing department speaks to hygiene and says, we have certain percentage of our patients on perio maintenance. We have certain percentage of our patients that need root planing and scaling that have not made appointments. We have certain percentage of our patients that don't understand, and we want to educate them more about their condition and why they should come in more often than a healthy mouth patient. They could do that. And that basically eliminates the blasting. If they want to communicate and say, hey, right now, it's just something that we got to talk about. For instance, you and I spoke about it earlier on. If I want to create a campaign and talk about, hey, there's students that are coming from college that need to come in and get their work done, and we got to build awareness with that. there are students that are going to be going away to camp that have no access to good quality dental because typically they're in a rural area. We rarely send somebody into the city. So we want to make sure that it gets controlled by the marketing people in corporate, and that a person that engages with people on a daily basis don't even have to worry about it. And you mentioned the TCPA compliance, and the latest one was 2015, where there's two types of messaging that you can do with a telephone or text, and it's either a medical message to remind somebody, hey, your appointment's coming up in 2 hours, or it's a marketing message. And like you said, we have tips and tricks, but also we have safeguards in place to where if somebody's going to want to do something and it doesn't jive with what we're looking to do, or it doesn't fit in with the compliance standard, we give you a warning right away. And then you can do whatever you want, because this is a program that you use, and we want you to use it any way you want, but we are going to give you a warning. So I think that is excellent to bring up, and I think that it keeps the risk low. It keeps the liability in control. It keeps the compliance everywhere. And I think that not enough companies are doing that. And we want to make sure that the people that use programs understand that. And so I want to thank you for that. I want to also, in this, staying with the topic, talk about the patient experience and the continuity of branding. What does that mean? How do we get that?
So when I think of branding for a dental practice or any dental group or any brand for that matter, think about the way when you hear the words Apple or Nike or Amazon, what they mean to you. They bring you a feeling first and foremost, right? And it could be good or bad, right? That is the brand. And the same applies to dental practice. The way you treat a patient defines your branding. The patient may fear the dentist, or they may be excited to see their doctor, right? And it's all about the way that their experience resonated with them, the feeling that comes to them when they think about their dental practice, right? So if a friend or a colleague refers somebody, they're ecstatic about the experience, they're gonna share that everywhere. And through RevenueWell, we can easily send out referral campaigns and see who your top referring patients are, see and track who is referring, how many people are referring, or what are we doing wrong, or what should we do differently? How can we maximize on the word of mouth? Because
sure.
Even with college students or anybody, any family members, anything, it comes down to word of mouth at the end of the day as well, because everybody does talk about everything at the end of the day. And your brand is about how you make that patient feel at the end of the day. That to me is what branding really means. And again, if we think about those examples of Nike, Apple, Amazon, etc., they give you a feeling, whether it's positive, negative, or maybe neutral. Maybe they left zero impact, but that's no different than your dental group or your dental practice.
I absolutely agree. And we can also spread all of that through our social media platform. We can do referrals. In most states, you're not allowed to incentivize anybody for a referral. But what I've seen happen with our top referring patients is just the most amazing thing. So RevenueWell actually tracks who refers, who actually comes in from them, and what that patient gets done over a period of time. And what I found that works great is a 5th of July barbecue party in our parking lot for all of our, I pick the top 200 referring customers, and I invite them over, and they can have a glass of wine with the doctor, and they absolutely love it. But what I also encourage is those people bring their friends and family to our party. There is nothing like Bobby Sue, after she had drink a glass of wine, and is hugging the doctor saying, right here, this is your doctor. Judy is the best doctor in the world. Dr. Alvarez, and that's the way it is. The only thing that I encourage you to do is don't let those silly people into your office just for little tours. Bring a couple of porta potties out there, right? And I bring Jenkins, which is the best barbecue people in the world. Don't cook yourself. Bring somebody that is going to be responsible for it. And then, events are the most amazing. I had an orthodontist reach out to me and said, look, Nudell, I've invited people to a party, face painting and everything, these kids don't want to come here. I said, Doc, let me set this up for you, and you know, we will see how many kids show up. And I did a campaign of dunk your orthodontist. We had over 500 people come in, and every single one of their clients was willing to dunk the orthodontist. Their patients were just, let's do it. And we had the whole team, you know, whoever you want to dunk, you were able to do it. It was an amazing event. So RevenueWell has a way through our social media, through Facebook, to Twitter, to be able to launch this. And also it's something that you have control over because it's inside RevenueWell. So you don't have to give up admin rights to just anybody in your practice. So that's kind of cool. And I absolutely love branding. And it's important that if we are DSO, MSO, if we do everything the same, or sometimes, Samantha, I've been speaking to DSOs, they say, look, I don't want to look like a DSO. I just want to be one. And so we want to promote each place individually, so not to look like a DSO, because our doctors are really amazing. Our teams are there for years. So RevenueWell will give you the opportunity of individualizing each practice as well. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, exactly. With RevenueWell, we have, it's a 99% customizable system, right? So we can certainly modify the messaging however you see fit for your branding's sake, their own marketing campaigns, their own events, and you can still see it, you know, through the enterprise portal and be able to take a look at each location and how they're doing.
Absolutely. And these are major keys to being able to be successful. And so I'm thinking about branding, I'm thinking about the experience, I'm thinking about mitigating the risk and liability. We've talked about saving time and time to really be able to dedicate ourselves to the patient in front of us and to the patient on the phone. And so I really want to thank you about this information, and I'm excited to get this out to our customers and our potential customers. I really want to thank you for being so deeply knowledgeable about the MSO and DSO business and really being passionate about helping them.
Oh, I'm completely excited about this. I'm excited for what we can do to help practices grow, right? That's what RevenueWell is all about. And I appreciate the time today to speak with me about it. It was nice getting those stories. I want to be a part of your dental practice with that July 5th barbecue, so hopefully I get an invite.
Yes, and we absolutely plan to do it this year, but I'm not inviting the local dentists. I'm just not. That's not the way it works. Thank you very much.